Amid the many weapon offerings in Season of the Witch, there's a subset of weapons that has been somewhat ignored. You see, seasonal witch Ingrams can be focused into recovered Red War weapons, offering a set of reprised Year 1 guns that have origin traits, updated perks, and modernized performance. Now, the weapon that we're going to be reviewing today is Showrunner, which has a banging perk selection. And the question we want to answer, are these 6-year-old weapons worth the Ingrams that it costs to get them? Now, back in the first year of Destiny 2, in the good old days of static rolls, Showrunner had one trait: dynamic sway reduction. I know, some of you are like, what? Y'all didn't even have weapon rolls back then? And you only have one trait? Dude, we have one trait, static rolls, no masterwork, and no origin trait. Dynamic sway is still available and almost borderline necessary to truly harness Showrunner, as Showrunner is a lightweight frame, 900 round per minute SMG, sharing basic performance with former PvP monsters like Multimac, Funnel Web, and the pinnacle weapon, the Recluse. Now, SMGs have received plenty of attention since then, but whenever a new lightweight SMG enters the scene, it's best for us to keep our eyes peeled. Now, Showrunner's median range is around 28, which is far short of Funnel Web's near 40, and its damage fall-off begins just under 17 meters. Barrel perks like Full Bore can crank that up, but even with that 43 range, fall-off start is only pushed out by roughly a meter, starting at 18. Now, given how low damage each shot is on these fast-firing SMGs, the effect of damage fall-off can feel very different in PvE, where targets are large and slower moving, versus PvP, where other players can very easily juke your shots. And when it comes to stability, trust me, this is going to be a problem, and it's only going to get worse after the mid-season patch, guys, as Bungie is going to be increasing recoil globally by 10% and reducing the mouse and keyboard stability bonus from 20% to 10%. Needless to say, guys, stability is becoming more and more important on SMGs, and it's not just something applicable to controller users. This hits mouse and keyboard users as well. And I will say, even right now in the current sandbox, when using Showrunner, it kicks, man. Not only does it kick, but it loses target acquisition. It handles flinch poorly, and to top it all off, it has limited range, which is why the gun roll, if you're wanting to use this SMG in PvP, is so important. Now, in that first column, you have dynamic sway reduction, rangefinder heating up, grave robber, well-rounded, and overflow. In that fourth column, we have collective action, fragile focus, swashbuckler, target lock, air assault, and kinetic tremors. Now, you see right there, guys, it has that coveted immortal god roll, or at least pre-rangefinder nerf. But back in the day, rangefinder target lock, like that was the meta combination on an SMG. Personally, though, in this sandbox, and considering the archetype of this SMG, you need dynamic sway. You need something helping you with that stability and accuracy as you maintain fire, which is a necessity here for this archetype. And the beautiful thing about dynamic sway is the faster your rate of fire, the quicker you receive those benefits. Now, recoil direction on this weapon is 90. Not perfect, but still pretty good. If you do happen to throw on a counterbalance mod, though, that will crank it up to 100. You can also evade this by just rocking like extended barrel or chambered compensator, as this will bring you to that cap and make everything extremely vertical. Now, if you've taken this SMG inside of PvP and you're like, dude, this is garbage, I completely get it, man. I had that exact same experience. There's so many SMGs I would prefer over this one inside of PvP, even with the origin trait Nadir focus, which, by the way, increases accuracy and range with sustained fire. So it's like double dynamic sway on a single weapon. Even with those benefits, I still wouldn't use this SMG inside of PvP. Now, again, it's not to say that the origin trait isn't good. After firing around 12 bullets, it begins to ramp up range enough to push out damage fall off by an extra meter. But keep in mind, on a low damage weapon like lightweight SMGs, that's only 1 damage per shot that you're getting back. And 1 meter doesn't really make that big of a difference, especially given how unstable this gun already is. My way of looking at this SMG for my PvP users is to essentially equip it with a combination that would be a good combination on any other SMG. That being dynamic sway, Nadir focus, some stability or range boosting perks, or at least range boosting perks that don't hurt your stability, with a perk like target lock to help you in those 1v1s, most notably adding forgiveness, and just keep it in your vault. Granted, this is coming from someone that literally has a maxed out vault year round, but I like to future-proof myself. And everyone laughs, but 600 round per minute auto rifles are getting a buff very soon. And who's laughing now? I've been keeping these bad babies for years, but that's for another video. Now, despite Showrunner not really showing out for PvP, it's actually got some good potential inside of PvE, and that's because it possesses something that other SMGs don't: kinetic tremors. This perk's SMG debut is long overdue, having made waves on our god roll hung juries picked up a few seasons ago, and we have since tried it out on other weapons. But landing 14 shots in a row kicks off 3 explosions at the feet of your target, dealing AoE damage within a roughly 5 meter radius that falls off with distance from that center point. point. Now on Carl, Showrunner's trimmers deal a maximum of 11,503 damage up to 3 times. Now the trimmers on Hung Jury are the same when we tested this 2 seasons ago, dealing 9,774 damage per trimmer, with Showrunner's damage against Carl being 1,041 per body and 1,724 per crit. Each trimmer does 6.7 times its critical damage, compared to Hung Jury's 1.9 time multiplier of crit to trimmer. In fact, this contrast exists almost everywhere you look. Scouts and pulse rivals have lower base damage, lower trimmer damage, and have lower ratios between those values. Now, Hung Jury gives you the safety of range, but even its perks pay for that by doing so much less damage. The combined DPS of Showrunner's base crits and kinetic trimmers damage comes to 35,445 against Carl, better than any rifle we looked at. It is edged out slightly by Buzzard, which hits a little harder as a 300 round per minute sidearm with a base DPS of 26,400 and a combined DPS of 36,865. The problem is that Buzzard takes almost 2.5 times as long to trigger kinetic trimmers, it requiring 2.4 seconds of consistent fire, and it only leaves you about 4 shots in the mag. Meanwhile, Showrunner's proc is lightning fast at 0.93 seconds with a hefty 30 bullets left in the mag. Similar story with scout rifles and pulse rifles. Even though their kinetic trimmer damage may be lower, their ammo economy is way better than that of Buzzard. So if you're looking for the biggest bang for your kinetic trimmers buck, Showrunner is a photo finish for number 2, and it's the smoothest ride to get there, making it arguably the top pick for this perk. Now, if you don't want to go the kinetic trimmer route, there is still another perk which is very good on this SMG, that being target lock. I know target lock is normally the focus, especially for SMGs, as a PvP trait, but keep in mind, you're not really benefiting completely from target lock inside of PvP. You're really only getting that first stack of damage. However, inside of PvE, you can ramp it all the way up. Now, with the base magazine size of 37 shots, Showrunner reaches target lock times 4, right around 28 bullets, increasing damage by 37% per shot after. Now, including the gradual damage ramp up of target lock, optimal DPS against Carl can reach all the way up to 31,336 damage. But we're not done. You see, target lock times 4 adds 35% more damage, but times 5, that adds 40% more damage. However, you need to land 110% of your magazine, and luckily for Showrunner, we have just the trait that allows us to overflow our magazine, that being the trait Overflow. The combination of Overflow and target lock combined grants us an optimal DPS of 33,000 with a magazine size of 74. So when comparing target lock Overflow to what you can get from kinetic trimmers, personally guys, I like the kinetic trimmer roll more here. Kinetic trimmers allows you to apply damage and dip back into cover. It also does AoE damage, which could clear out ads around that beefier target you're laying into, especially considering you can do that kinetic trimmer Overflow combination together, which is nasty. So guys, that is our review there for Showrunner. Not a terrible weapon inside of PvP, although I would definitely choose other options, but for my PvE users, it's got some extremely unique trait combinations that you're gonna want to get your hands on. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.